Hey, what's up, guys? I wanted to talk about the downsides of investing in real estate because even though I love real estate and I think it's like one of the best investment vehicles, one of the most fun, one of the things that I obsessed about the most, clearly, me making all sorts of YouTube videos about my repairs and just my ideas in general. No investment is perfect, and there are major downsides to investing into multifamily real estate. Um, but we're all big boys and girls here, so it's good to kind of talk about the issues with this type of investment, just so you're ready, you're mentally prepared, or you mean you might not be maybe investing in stocks or something. Maybe that's the real estate might not be the best thing for you, right? So let's get into it. I wrote some notes down here. Um, there are actually basically just a few that are really based more or less serious, and it's really hard to avoid. I don't know how you can uh, overcome these in a sense. One of the major ones that's intertwined with the second one is like the physics and entropy. Like entropy is in like the law of physics where like matter just becomes random. What do I mean by that is even though people construct buildings, construct things, eventually they just fall apart. That's just the state of nature for things to disintegrate. And real estate is very susceptible to that. Um, in a sense, everything is susceptible. Like even if you have an ice cream shop or a hamburger stand, you will have your equipment, that will break and stuff like that. But because real estate, I mean, obviously, the actual building is such a big part of what real estate investors do. It affects us a lot more, and obviously, the more units you have, the more you will understand or feel it that um, things just completely disintegrate all the time. And then these are expensive repairs. They're very annoying. Talking about like the hot air heaters, refrigerators, roofs, just basements, just random like sockets, electrical pipes. Tenants are always clogging things. Um, just random locks breaking. So it's tough. I mean, the best thing you can do is to have like a good handyman that doesn't charge you an arm and a leg. You're not like calling some random company off of Zillow that's going to charge you the maximum price, because then that's going to make everything unprofitable. Ideally, you would have a nice older gentleman that kind of takes his time, but at the same time, he's not aspiring to drive a Mercedes, that type of thing. Like he makes okay, decent money, and that's what he's happy with, right? If you get that type of a handyman that just attention to detail, he could interact with tenants instead of you, like you're like the in between. You could just tell him call this tenant, he will, and just you will schedule the underlying minutia of when is the tenant going to be home, or if the tenant can be just let him in, while they're at work, stuff like that. That's going to make everything a lot easier. And if you're not charged an arm and a leg, if he charges you, maybe like $50 or $60 to address a simple issue, your repairs are not going to be hundreds and thousands of dollars every single time. Because if you use like a company, like an official company off of Zillow, they are going to get you for the maximum amount of money. Um, so yeah, this is everything that can disintegrate will disintegrate eventually over time. Now, of course, if you have like new construction, new buildings, you're not going to have experience that as much as obviously if you buy like an older buildings, but still, nevertheless, eventually, especially in the Midwest where I'm investing in Cincinnati, Ohio, all these buildings are really old, and then they're just completely falling apart. So there's that. And the second part that's intertwined in this, it's that it's kind of a low margin business, to where the building when you buy it does not make a ton of money right off the bat. Now, of course, there's caveats to this. hypothetically, you can get a screaming deal. You get a deal off market, somebody that's really desperate, somebody passed away, and their relatives have like an off market deal. They're just looking to unload the property, and then you make some quick repairs, and it's cash flowing like a freight train. That's what like the online gurus that would have you like buy their course or whatever, that would advertise and stuff like that. But in reality, it's usually not the case. I think you have to be really into like super, like have a lot of experience in real estate and just be always pounding the table, pounding like a full-time job looking for these type of deals. It's a full-time job. You're sending out postcards, you're doing marketing, you're doing this and that, and you're working really hard. And it probably takes you many years to be able to get the experience and get the hang of it to where you get these type of really rare deals. For most people, average people, they get something off the MLS, off of Zillow, Redfin, and of course, real estate is such a popular investment that these buildings are priced accordingly to where either you're losing money or you're making like a few $100 a month, typically. I mean, obviously, the average person gets an average deal, and with these average deals, you're making a few $100 a month that will be completely wiped away with any kind of serious repair, like a roof replacement, or like a water main break or something, you know. Now, of course, I would want to make like a whiskey analogy. You know, like a whiskey distillery makes whiskey, and it's nasty in the beginning, that pure distillate. They put in the barrel, and you have to, the longer they let it age, the better it becomes. Well, same as in real estate, or you can use a growing tree analogy. In the beginning, if you buy in the right neighborhood that's on an uptrend, within 10 years, it will be a good cash flow to the point where you're not really worried about repairs. You're having thousands of dollars a month profit, to where $500 here and there, it's not a big deal for you at all. So yeah, these two, the repair and the low margins are kind of intertwined, that when people first getting into real estate, they're having issues because they don't make that much money, and all the little profit they make gets very easily wiped away. So we got that. Another thing, one second, I'm just getting a call here. Nope, it's just spam. Another thing is the issue, one of the bigger issues is real estate is a people business. And if you hate dealing with people, maybe you're better off just buying stocks. Even if, I mean, somebody would think that, oh, you know, you just get a property manager. Well, property managers are not the best thing for you. I mean, if like a typical property manager takes 10% of the rents before expenses, then that's probably half of your income right there. But even then, you still have to manage the property manager. Property managers can do a lot of things that's against your interest. They can, list your properties way lower than what you can get if you were to just, list it yourself and then be patient. They're because they only make 10% of the rents. They don't care if your place is listed for $1,300 or $1,500. They're not going to go fight for the extra $200 per month. I mean, that's a huge difference for you. And then you would do that, but property manager would just like unload that unit and a bunch of other things. So they don't really have your best interest at heart. You still have to deal with the property manager anyway. So to squeeze the most juice out of your real estate investment, you have to deal with the tenants yourself, and it is a people business. Generally, people that are hitting you up, for repairs, they're not, they never owned apartment buildings, or they're not the most, empathetic. They just don't care about what, they think you're rich, or they think you're making they think if they're paying you $800 a month, they automatically think that's all profit. So what do you care, right? They think you're just loaded and just you're banking. So zero sympathy here from them. And then, either people have a bad attitude, or just make unreasonable like demands that you think are unreasonable. They could always just grind on you, right? That's especially if you're not a people person. I'll give you an example. Um, I have a property, a long distance property in Los Angeles, and these tenants are pretty good, but just one thing that just really just really annoyed me. I have a property in Los Angeles, and this girl, she's renting a house from me, and she messaged me. I mean, she always just has like little ticky tacky things where, like an animal will die in the front yard. There's flies or something, or some neighborhood kids tagged the front yard, like front yard. It's like every tiny little thing that's wrong. I'm always getting like a text message, or just she's like messaging me about it, which is just sometimes it's just so frustrating. But yeah, she said there's like a gas space heater mounted in the wall, and she said, "Hey, this heater is dripping water. You take a look at it." And then I just like, "Oh, okay, whatever." I'll send my handyman. And mind you, I was thinking like, how is that even possible? Because that gas heater only runs on gas. There's no water line nearby. Maybe the windows, or because some parts of it's sticking outside. I think maybe like the water's getting in there because like the caulking broken down or something, right? $100 later, my handyman gets there and just says, yeah, this lady has like a pot on top of that water heater, and when she waters it, some water misses the pot and actually drips down. And I'm out $100 because she's watering her plants wrong, or she found some water on the ground. Stupid stuff like that could just drive you mad and just infuriating. Like even just like little mice infestation or something. It's like in the attic or mice crawling around. It's like, oh, why is this my problem? Just take care of it. Just deal with it. Yeah, stuff like that could just like add up, right? Especially if you're not making money hand over fist, which you're not going to be in the beginning. Also, with a people business, you have to screen the tenants if you're doing it yourself, and screening tenants, you have to be a kind of like a psychologist, also like a police detective in a way. You have to be a good person, a person that can read people's character or see people's red flags. Of course, this is a teachable skill, where I think when somebody talks to me about renting one of my units, I'm a lot more attuned than before. I was kind of ignorant, and then I got burned a bunch of times. And now I can pick up on any tiny little thing that's like tiny little red flag that's wrong with the person. So I can vet them a lot more, is maybe more attuned. But yeah, screening tenants. And another thing, obviously, is if you're dealing with tenants, unlike a business to where you could just say you can fire a client, saying, hey, maybe you're like maybe you do like industrial printing, and you say, hey, I'm not going to print for this company anymore. That's it. This client is fired. I'm going to sell my printing services to some other manufacturer or something like that. You have tenants living in there, and you can't just fire a tenant. Well, you can end their lease, or you can eventually get them to move out with an eviction, but it's a long and drawn out process. It's infuriating if somebody's like living in your place and not paying rent, because you're still paying the mortgage, and you're paying for some of the utilities, and just it's like, hey, I'm holding up my end of the bargain. Like, I'm paying the bank. I'm just doing all this stuff, right? Can you, when you sign the lease, could you hold up your end of the bargain? Just stuff like that. You could just grind on you. It's really highly annoying, or especially if a person, let's say if a tenant, they said they can't pay rent, or they're, for whatever reason, they decided they're going to move out or whatever. You file eviction papers, and then some states, they get a free lawyer, and you have to pay for your own lawyer. That's hundreds of dollars, not thousands. And on top of that, before they get the court date and stuff like that, they can live for rent free for a couple months. And it's just so just aggravating. You just can't take your property back right away. Not to mention the damage they're going to leave. They know they're not getting a deposit back, so they're just going to leave They gotta leave so much trash that you have to like rent a trash bin that's like already like $700, that type of thing. So it's not all sunshine and roses here. Another thing is real estate is not a non-liquid asset. It takes a lot of fees, taxes, and it takes a while to list and to sell. This one is kind of a positive and a negative, to where most people, nobody's really a professional. There aren't that many people that are professional stock traders. So for most people, it's much better just to buy an asset, whether even if it's stock, to buy a stock and just to hold on for 10 years, 20 years, right? But then every time there's some bad news or something, people are skittish, get cold feet, and they sell their stocks at a loss. When a lot of people lose money, they buy high and sell low. Well, it's kind of a plus that real estate is not as non-liquid assets. So when you want to sell, you hear bad news, but because of there's so much friction in that process of selling that somebody's kind of like rethink it, you just cool down, and people end up holding onto their real estate for years and if not decades. So that works in people's favor, I think. Yeah, so another one is like location. It's kind of, I mean, initially, of course, location is totally in your control. You control when you buy the piece, when you buy the property, where you buy the property. But aside from that, then you have very little control as far as which way the neighborhood goes. Usually, there are signs that you can pick up on that you'll know that the neighborhood is good and it's getting even better. But I mean, let's say you made a mistake and you buy next to an apartment complex with a bunch of juvenile delinquents and they're hanging out, around your property, and intimidating tenants and breaking windows and spraying graffiti, and like you can call the cops and the cops don't do anything. So aside from the initial purchase, you're stuck there. You can't move. You can't just pick up and move the building. You're stuck. So you're you know you're it is what it is. It's like it's set in concrete, right? So you just got to sell it at that point. Um, oh, no. So the last one is what you have to really take into consideration is it is a high capital business that it takes a lot of money. The down payment itself takes a lot of money. 20% of a typical multifamily house. Like that's $80,000 or more, right? Or if you buy a fixer upper, well, you know, just floors or anything besides painting is pretty cheap, because it's like, you get a bucket of paint for a couple $100. But anything other than that, I mean, let's say you want to put in like a condenser, or like a heating and cooling, ducts or something. You're easily getting into, or new kitchen, or remodel a bathroom. Remodeling costs are really expensive. It's really capital intensive, everything from a down payment to any kind of improvements. You want to resurface a parking lot. You want to put in a new driveway. It involves not only just labor, but just actually skilled labor. And skilled labor in America goes for, 50 to hundreds of dollars an hour. So there's that. So that's kind of, that's always a challenge. You want to buy something cheap. Unless you're remodeling yourself, fixing it up and paying anybody to do anything help you out. I mean, the tab runs up pretty quickly. And on top of that, like obviously, even if you want to get the building, I mean, initially you can get a 3% down payment for like an FHA, like if you're going to live there. But other than that, if you start buying stuff with DSCR loans, from an investor point of view, maybe you can get away with 20, but usually it's 25% down, which is, 20% down on a $500,000 or $1 million property. It's that's already like a good chunk of change. It's hard to get into. Yep. Well, there you have it. Real estate is one of my favorite things. I think it's one of the best investment vehicles just because of the leverage, meaning the loans. I should do a separate video about like the benefits of real estate, but just wanted to get that out there. All right, see you guys.